Hello everyone, Deadlock turned out to be quite an interesting character. At first, those who were given early access to her said she would be stronger than Chamber at the start, even stronger than Raze with her 2 grenades. However, after the release, opinion sharply changed. So what kind of agent did Riot end up with? Today I will tell you about who Deadlock is suitable for and how to play her correctly, because I really like this agent and paid special attention to her. I wish you a pleasant viewing and let's get started. Well, let's start with who Deadlock is suitable for. Personally, I believe that while she's categorized as a Sentinel, she fits into a different understanding of the role compared to characters like Cypher and Killjoy, who set up traps and wait passively. When we think of Sentinels, we typically associate them with providing cover for the team's back. Even Chamber can manage that to some extent, but Deadlock is different. However, many people forget that Sage is also a Sentinel, and do players pick her just to cover their team's back? Not really, she fulfills other tasks, just like Deadlock. She falls somewhere in between all the Sentinels, in my opinion. You won't be completely AFK waiting for opponents, but you won't be running around seeking kills like Chamber either. I'd say you'll play her more passively, when on the attacking side, as surviving until the spike is planted and utilizing your abilities for your team will be crucial. Her traps are particularly effective in holding the plant side. We'll talk about that a bit later. In summary, to quote Nuts, who I believe is one of the strongest Sentinel players in Valorant, Deadlock cannot be compared to Cypher and Killjoy directly. She serves slightly different functions. There is a good chance she will be picked up, but the question is who to replace on them. She excels in post-plant situations due to her abilities, and in short, she's strong in post-plants. Setting up her traps to coach enemies is also powerful, especially with her ultimate, but she is not the best at stopping enemies in their tracks. As a result, I think she will appeal to those who want to play Sentinel, but in a slightly more active manner. So let's start with her signature ability, the barrier. I've noticed one very important and cool detail about it. It becomes much stronger if you combine it with your teammate's smokes. In such cases, it's like Sage's wall, but with the added advantage that you can shoot through it if you wish. When opponents face Sage's wall, they usually just stand there and break it without much difficulty, and you're left waiting on the other side, unable to do much. However, with Deadlock barrier, opponents will have to break the wall while bullets are flying at them, making it much more challenging for them. So be sure to coordinate this ability with your teammate's smokes for added effectiveness. Since the barrier is free, you should definitely use it in every round, but because you only have one, you need to use it wisely. For defense, it's quite straightforward. Place the barrier before the enemy team exits their spawn and you'll have the upper hand. Just make sure to position it in a way that the opponent has to break either 2 sections or the main section. Leaving the barriers for retakes isn't ideal except for countering Astra, but even then it's not always the most effective use. In most cases, opponents will have enough time to take good positions, and since the barrier can be shot through, it won't provide much advantage. Instead, use it to block off your team's back during an attack. If you hear the enemies attacking a different side at the start of the round, you can use the barrier there and rotate away, knowing you'll have some information if they start breaking it. However, be cautious of enemies who can jump over it or teleport through it. For attacking, the barrier is great for isolating specific territories. The only problem is that you can't throw it too far away, but Sage's wall is also limited, so either look for some lineup for the barrier or simply throw it wherever it's needed based on the situation. By utilizing the barrier effectively, you can create advantageous situations for your team and become a formidable force on the battlefield. An interesting aspect of this wall is its unconventional uses. For example, you can position it in a way that slightly obscures the player model, so it will be like a one-way for you, while also absorbing some incoming damage. Additionally, players have come up with various wall placement that allow you to catch opponents off guard during spike planting or prevent them from exiting certain areas. Your teammates can capitalize on these situations by using their ultimates like Brimstone or Sova to capitalize on the advantage created by these creative combinations. These strategies can be quite powerful, and executing them is not as difficult as it may seem. Next, let's move on to Deadlock's grenade. Its advantage lies in how easily it can be thrown. Lineups similar to those used by Killjoy Molly or KO grenade can be adapted for Deadlock grenade. But the key is not just in the lineups. The grenade is highly situational because if you throw it at an enemy in a regular firefight, they can simply crouch and avoid any damage, rendering it ineffective. However, understanding that an opponent cannot jump until they remove the dart is crucial. Therefore, using this grenade in areas where your opponents will need to jump becomes incredibly effective. I know there aren't many such areas, but one example that comes to my mind is on Ascent. If you throw the grenade alongside Killjoy Mollies, your opponent will take significant damage and won't be able to jump out of it immediately, giving you a perfect opportunity ability to shoot them. The only question is whether Deadlock and Killjoy will be picked together, but a similar tactic could also work with Viper, I believe. Another option is to use it on Lotus with a Raze grenade, for example. The cool thing about this grenade is that its effect activates instantly without any delay or activation time. You can try creating a lineup to throw the grenade to the common spike plant spot where the enemy usually places the spike. Tossing the grenade during Brimstone's ultimate, for example, can be quite impactful. There are many possibilities, but the most important thing is to use it in combination with other abilities, because as a standalone ability it might not be very effective in 1v1 gunfights. And now let's discuss Deadlock's sonic sensor. It's something entirely new for Valorant, an ability triggered by sound, which we haven't seen before. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this ability is not meant to cover your back, it's more suited for holding sides. Its drawback compared to other Sentinels is that once you place it, you can't retrieve it, so it's crucial to position it correctly from the first attempt. The best locations are where opponents are likely to make noise. My favorite example is on Ascent Gain. Simply place these traps and any opponent walking out from the common lines will likely trigger your audio sensor, giving you an instant advantage. A similar example exists on Bind, but the situation is different because in most cases the first to come out will be Raze or Jet, who can trigger the trap, and the enemies following them won't be caught by it. So try to position the trap a bit lower to avoid these situations. Also remember that enemies can silently jump out of the same spot. I think Deadlock will be great for Icebox due to the abundance of convenient spots for her traps, as there is a lot of jumping around on that map. By the way, I recommend taking one sensor and one grenade for defense on pistol round, and for attack 2 sensors along with armor, of course. Speaking of attack, always place one sensor to coach opponents trying to defend the spike and position the second one based on the situation. Don't take too many risks to find the perfect spot for the sensor, as its range isn't very large and opponents may catch you while you're searching for the ideal placement. Remember, mastering the audio sensor can significantly improve your control over the battlefield, and careful placement can be a game changer in crucial moments. And the last but not least, let's talk about Deadlock's ultimate, which at first might have seemed weak. The greatness of this ultimate lies in the fact that even in a dire situation you can take at least one opponent down with you. In a 2 vs 1 situation, the ultimate is perfect for safely winning the round, as it's effortless to land, and even if you get killed, your teammate can still secure the round victory. When using this ultimate, try to move and jump around to make it harder for enemies to hit you before they get caught in the cocoon. If you know that your opponent consistently plays the same position, you can use the ultimate early in the round without worrying too much about wasting it. However, you shouldn't use it haphazardly, because if you know that 3 enemy players are together, it will be challenging to kill someone with the ultimate, as 2 players can break the cocoon very quickly. In my experience, this ultimate has been most helpful in the late stages of the round when only about half of players are alive. You can also learn some lineups with her ultimate to ensure a 100% win in a 1 vs 1 situations, especially when the spike is planted. So that's the guide, thanks everyone for watching, see you soon, bye bye.